Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to be talking with an immigrant entrepreneur. And we're going to have such a great discussion. You know, now here's the funny thing. I don't think I've ever interviewed anybody who lives in Branson, Missouri. Which is, I'll ask you later how you ended up there. But please join me in welcoming Gorm Tuxen to our program. Welcome, Gorm. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Deb. Thanks for having me on your show.
Great. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this. So Gorm Tuxen is a visionary entrepreneur with over 40 years of expertise in business development, software engineering, and systems design. As the founder and CEO of Tuxen Group, LLC, he leads companies specializing in security, parking, and transportation technologies across the Americas. Through Tuxen Associates, Inc., he has represented NEDAP Identification Systems, it might be NEDAP, I love acronyms, Advancing Intelligent Security Access Solutions. At IPsens, LLC, he has developed cloud-based parking platforms that improve urban mobility. Tuxen Integrated Systems, LLC, boy, you've been busy, has designed major marquee security integration projects for the world's largest outdoor retailer and major resort operator. His latest venture, Blue Gold Flight, reflects his passion for aviation and safety, partnering to introduce an eco-friendly aircraft cleaner. Gorm began his U.S. entrepreneurial journey with Eurostyle, a Scandinavian furniture store in Nashville. His leadership continues to shape open API integration standards and technology-driven solutions that enhance business operations. So again, Gorm, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, what we didn't say in your bio is that you are originally from Denmark. But tell us, you've been here long enough, you do not sound like that.
No.
But tell us, how is it that you got to where you are today in Branson, Missouri?
Well, it's been quite the journey. I mean, it started, back in the 70s, and I was in high school in Denmark, finishing high school. And I saw a poster on the public bulletin board that offered up the opportunity to go to America to be a high school senior for a year. My dad was actually born in Asco, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
My grandfather immigrated in 1928, which was incredibly poor timing, and found himself back in Denmark by 1932 because of the Depression.
Mm-hmm.
But his twin brother joined the U.S. Air Force and actually, took a whole tour through Okinawa and wound up down in Louisiana at Barksdale Air Force Base.
Mm-hmm.
So there was always this connection to America. So I'd always been fascinated about it. So I applied, and they were kind enough to let me go. And I went to Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh.
And, at that time, I checked my parents' encyclopedia, and I'm not really sure Lindbergh had flown the Atlantic when it was written, so my expectations and reality were far apart when I finally arrived. So, but that was my first step into America, and I just, that whole year just changed my entire life. I mean, I felt so at home. Found Americans to be incredibly welcoming and gracious, and I just loved everything about it. I had a great high school year.
Where were you? What state?
I was I was in Memphis, Tennessee. I was actually in Whitehaven at a Catholic school, even though I'm not Catholic. So I got to learn how to tie a tie and put the school uniform on and all that good stuff, So, but I was and my host father was a glider pilot, and I had started flying gliders in in Denmark before I came here.
Mhm.
So I actually soloed in the U.S. and got my first, first flying hours, and as I was here as well. So
Mhm. I love it. So, you went back to
yeah,
Denmark, but then you
uh-huh.
came back. So
Yeah,
what
because
brought that on?
well, the whole thing was when I came back, I was like, I'm in the wrong place. I mean, I had seen the opportunity,
Mhm.
Deb. I mean, I tell you, the American dream was right in front of me, and it was just I could just feel it. And
Mhm.
Denmark during that time was going in, social democratic, and so it was a different system, more focused on the collective, and thereby limiting sort of the low and the high,
Mhm.
and I just didn't see that as being for me. So
Mhm.
I did take advantage of a good educational system and wound up getting into a private school and getting my master's in international marketing and export management.
Ooh.
And part of that was writing a thesis, and we had to recruit them ourselves. And so I went after the furniture industry. My father was a carpenter, and I
Right. And
figured that was a
Denmark is kind
natural
of famous for
extension.
that.
Yeah, and a lot of furniture in Denmark going to the U.S. So
Mhm.
reached out to them and was lucky enough to get the permission to do my graduate thesis on setting up a subsidiary in the U.S. And of course, it was very intentional, and it was a long shot, but it turned out. And by 1982, I was in Racine, Wisconsin, setting up a subsidiary for this Danish furniture manufacturer. So that was step one. Then I spent some years roaming 7 states in the Midwest, trying to sell every furniture store Scandinavian furniture. So that was real, uh, you know, out there with a briefcase and knocking everybody over, yellow pages in the morning, and then just hit them alphabetically. And so, but I managed to build up a nice sales area, and we got off to a good start. And then a couple of years into it, my two partners left to go into business, or my two bosses, one was the export manager, the other was the U.S. sales manager, left to go into business for themselves with another manufacturer. And they were agents now.
Mhm.
So I was kind of left there for a year till the final plan revealed itself. And that was, they wanted to have me come over as well.
Ah. Mhm.
So we joined up in a partnership to start a Scandinavian furniture store in Nashville. So we actually went from the wholesale side of the business to, setting up retail shops. And the first one was in Nashville, Tennessee, and that became my first entrepreneurial enterprise in the U.S. I mean, I basically collected up the money that I had made in commissions.
Mhm.
My wife and I packed up from Racine, moved to Nashville, and started setting up this furniture store down there. So yeah,
I love it.
yeah,
But somehow you transitioned
I
from
did.
the furniture store to tech. So
Yeah.
tell us more about that.
Yeah, so interesting, right? I mean, I get that question quite often. How do you do that? Well,
Mhm.
there's a number of real important elements in this one. Need because we ran into
Mhm.
the recession there in the late 80s,
Mhm.
and the yuppies were our customers, and they were all getting laid off, and all the
Oh.
prices were going up because of the exchange rate. So
Mhm.
not a good intersection. So then I sat down, and then I was lucky enough that the president of Belmont University at the time was
Mhm.
one of my customers, super nice guy,
Mhm.
and he got me set up with a Korean trading company, or a
Mm.
Korean company called Penn Trading. Okay, so Mr. Penn was buddies with Chiang Kai-shek. And what he was doing was he was mining coal in South Carolina and sending it to Taiwan, right? So yeah, so anyway, they had a trading department,
Mhm.
and so I wound up being in that trading department. And as I was trying to sell everything from blue jeans to the Russians to Euro pallets to Deutsche Bundesbahn to whatever I could come across. And of course, there was no internet, so it was all on telex and hearsay and whatever. Well, in the process, I'm watching TV one day, and CNN has the technology segment, and they show this little in-vehicle parking meter, and I thought, wow, that would be interesting. And it rains in Denmark all the time. Nobody wants to go vend money and some
Right.
device to
Stand
park,
in the
right? So
rain and
this
not
is
have your
nice and
quarters and
this is nice and convenient, keeps people out of the rain. So I reached out and I said, well, I don't know, what are you doing in Denmark? And they said, no, Denmark? I don't think we're doing anything in Denmark. And I said, well, would you be open to maybe having a conversation about, representing you over there? And they said yes. And so, I was kind of on a month to month with pen trading. So I left there and then I started my consulting practice. And before you knew it, I was in Copenhagen talking to the city of Copenhagen about buying these things. And that led into a further consulting arrangement in new product research and development. And, um, it was the advent of the PC, right? I mean, there were no experts other than the people that made themselves experts. It was really an organic sort of development. And before you knew it, I was in the technology business because Duncan Industries, who was the company that I transferred over to, well, they had just changed the parking meters from mechanical to electronic. And so that got them in. They were going through this whole transition of dealing with, mechanical to technology. So I got to take the ride with their engineering department and their sales department and lead that whole thing. And in my book, you'll find the whole story about how that all came together. But long story short, I wound up being the director of business development for the company. I wound up dealing with all the big cities in the U.S. And I learned a ton. We started a software group, and I was part of the due diligence, became vice president there. And so that period of time is really what trained me to be a technology sort of specialist rather than where my origins were in the furniture industry. So, and then a ways into that, we'd become, we were definitely the number one company in the U.S. in on-street, systems and parking solutions. It was rather political in nature because we were dealing with all the big cities and so forth and so on. And it just became time for me and the company to split paths. So we, had a little different vantage point on how to go forward. And so then I was like, okay, I want to go back to being self-employed. I mean, that was the American dream after all. I can be my own maker. I don't need all the trappings, but I came away with a ton of knowledge. And then I ran into another situation in a parking magazine one day where a Dutch company was talking about mobile parking using phones in Europe. And I reached out to them, traveled to Holland, talked to them. And that was our first client. And that's 25 years ago. I showed up at the factory in Groenlo in the eastern part of Holland, 17 miles from the German border, and laid my case out. Said, what are you doing in the U.S.? And they were like, we're not doing anything in the U.S. I said,
should we?
Yeah, we got to change that, So I started, as a new, again, I basically a business development company with all the basics. And like I said, we've represented them for 25 years now, and they do perimeter access equipment and solutions for, large industrial complexes, gated communities, and integrated with, large security systems and things of that nature. So, and we build it from nothing to being all over the Americas. So today we represent all of the Americas from north to south. So
Nice.
we got people in South America, we got people here. And so it's been an interesting journey. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many things there to unpack. But my first thought, so I'm in Atlanta, which has, a lot of the driverless cars.
Yeah.
And is there any way that this would be incorporated? I don't know.
Yeah.
This just, I mean, like you kept thinking of things to integrate, and, because I mean, clearly those cars need to pay to park and all those things.
Yes. Very good question. Everything is getting integrated these days because we've gone from, electronic items that were produced to connect within the manufacturer's realm of operation, right? So you have a PC will work over here. You have some other controller for security. It works on a different operating system. You have this and this and this. Now that everything is getting cloud integrated, it's all based on the same format of data.
Right.
So it's much easier to share. So it's much easier to share through automatic program interfaces like APIs, where you take information from one system and you share it with another system, and you broaden the knowledge that the computer has about what's going on out there. And yeah, self-driving cars is a really good example. I mean, IPsens is the company that deals with that kind of thing. We were doing sensors for on-street parking so that the sensors would know where the available parking spaces were. And so, yeah, that whole integration, and then the integration of, parking security and transportation, those barriers get broken down as well, because you can interchange data, right? So you can multitask equipment, you can collateralize the data, and be a lot smarter about what's going on out there. So, yeah.
Right. I don't know that I'll be brave enough to go in a driverless car. I was next to one the other day, and I looked over and went, "There's nobody driving that car." And they, we had, I just, had to share this. We had a story in the Atlanta news last week.
Yeah.
Cul-de-sac in, one of the more urban parts
I saw that on the news. Yeah.
All of a sudden there were a whole bunch of Waymos that just went, and then they didn't know what to do. There were just all these little cars that were there, and somewhere there's their software had a little glitch. But they said they just, or they drive in and then they drive out, and they were like, why are all these cars here? But the thing is, it's as you said, the more the information gets shared, the better all of that will be.
Yeah, and of course that's where AI comes in, right? It's such massive processing of all. Now we're not only looking to interpret the data, we're looking to automate the acting on the data, which has been the human function for forever. And now we're saying, no, we just want to oversee it. We don't want to actually operate it. So yeah, you're bound to run into errors like cars that wind up in a cul-de-sac. I've had a few of those, when we were developing systems where you go unintended consequences, where you go, well, if we don't try, we won't know, but now we know, so now we can fix it.
Then you fix it. Yeah. One of the other stories I saw, and this was, driverless cars in Texas, there was an area that had flooded, and, the car was told, go down that road. Well, it didn't know that there was now a lake there. And so, it was just a matter of updating the sensors, and, and they've had issues with, not pulling over for emergency equipment or going past school buses. That was a big issue,
that's a big issue.
And, but yeah, it's you and I are the same generation where we watch the Jetsons, right? I really want my car to go boom.
Yeah, I know.
And off we go, right?
Yeah, it'll probably happen one of these days. I don't know if we'll be around to see it, but it'll happen. I mean, it's like it's amazing how when you will something, it actually happens, right? I'm a big sci-fi buff, so I've always been, enticed with all the future stuff and what you can do, and that there's no limits type stuff, So we make what we can foresee, because that's innovation right there. So
right. And to me, all the technology is fascinating. Just to see, the changes and things, and of course, I don't know how much COVID sped things up, but I think it did speed things up, especially with things like AI.
Yeah, absolutely did. Yeah, there's no question about it. It's like I write about it in my book, that adversity is what teaches you new things, right? So, I mean, you don't like going through the experience, it's not what anybody wants, but it's really a matter of perspective, how you look at it. How, what did I learn from that? How did I react? How could I do better next time? And I think, I mean, to me, the glass is always half full. So I start out with a pretty optimistic attitude anyway. But even when it gets really challenging, I mean, you've got to have the endurance to get through it, and keep a positive outlook, and understand that the small things that get in your way or not going to kill you, they're probably going to inform you, right? So, but if you're not listening to that, you wind up listening to what's wrong and not one, what could you do about it, and what did you learn from it? You know, so
Right.
yeah.
Well, and let's talk about your book. So it's Immigrant Entrepreneurship in America.
Yeah.
So what led you to write the book?
I tell you what, that's a good question. I felt like I have been so fortunate to learn so many things in my life, and and I've had so many good people taking me under their wing and taking the time to teach me things, and I am a huge believer in constant learning, and so. And then my role changed, especially when I started my own company, to go from, more of the student to more of the mentor, and to, build knowledge around what we were doing as a company, build a company culture that was what we wanted to have, and was a nice, friendly place for people to come and where they could feel like they were, contributing and being valued and stuff like that. So, and then we also started out with some very young people. I have two associate partners now, and the one that's been with me the longest started right after he finished his MBA. And so he was in his 20s, I was in my 40s, and I felt like, okay, it's going to be a teaching thing. So our company has really been that. We have a lot of people that come from nothing like what we do, but we use that to our advantage because they don't come with any preconceived notions. And then we train for the subject matter, and we can build on. I like to talk about attitude, aptitude, and altitude, right? So I mean, who are you? What are you? And are you ambitious, basically, right? So that kind of turned into a curriculum over time. It was like, it wasn't taught that way. It was taught in kind of a situational, steps. But as I started looking at it, I was like, this is kind of a curriculum. This is kind of, I can actually say, talk about how this is a process. And then about that time, I was contacted by my publisher, and they were asking me if I was interested in writing a book, and I was like, well, I don't know. So I started looking into it, and one thing led to the next. And so I started, a little over a year ago, and we published end of January this year, and made the Amazon #1 bestseller list. So I'm really excited about that. For me, it was really an opportunity to share, to give back, to like I said, I feel like I've been so blessed, and I've received so many blessings from other people. It was my turn to give back, and hopefully have people make something of it for themselves.
Right. When you have a whole chapter in the book about paying it forward and mentoring folks.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think if we have more of that, we have less problems. I mean, if the less we focus on our own needs, and we focus on how can we effectuate and be an integral part of other people's lives, and giving back. I've always said, if you pay it forward, you don't have to worry about what comes to you. It'll come automatic. But if you don't, then you have to worry about what your future looks like, because it's obvious to other people what you're doing.
Right.
And you're not really giving anything, you're just taking something. And, and I think in our national fabric as America, I think it's we're talking about me being an exchange student. I think it's such an integral fabric of the American people. I tell people, say, well, how come Americans all say hi to each other, even though they don't know each other? I said, well, America was built with a bunch of prairie wagons going west. You better say hi to who was next to you. You might not be around tomorrow,
Or you might need them.
You might need them. Exactly. So it's an inherent part of our culture, but also makes for a fabulous canvas to land on as an immigrant, if you really understand what that's all about,
Right.
So
Well, do you think it was a benefit to be an immigrant and then to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the things I talk about in the book is that it's all about perspective, right? So whenever you whenever you grow up with something, it's kind of linear progression, right? Because you're taught everything, one thing follows the next.
Mm-hmm.
When you immigrate and uproot everything you know, then you're back to square one. You don't know anything. One of the first things you find out as an immigrant is whatever you thought you knew, you can forget about because it's nothing like what you thought it was. And so now you're having to learn and adapt very quickly. I mean, this is an existential kind of a need. But the things that pop at you obviously are out of normal context because it's not linear learning. It's, application kind of learning where you go, I need to know this because I need to go here from simple things to more complex things. And on that journey, you will see things that stand out that other people don't notice as standing out. They just see it meshed in with everything else.
Right.
And I think that's also why you see in a lot of immigrant entrepreneurs, why they find things that are, we go, wow, it's kind of obvious, but I've never thought about it.
It's kind of normal for us, but it stands out for you.
Exactly. And then the next thing is on the existential side that you learn is if you don't act on it, it's worthless. So act, right? You have to act. I mean, you're going to come up with a lot of dead ends, but if you don't act on what's on your peripheral vision, you're just going to be driving a train down a railroad where you should have taken a turn or gotten off on the station or something like that. You'll bypass all of those markers. But that acuity you get as an immigrant is really a tool. And I'd really learned to hone in on that and go, there's nothing bad about non-conventional wisdom. I mean, it's like I can ask the question. I mean, people may say, "Well, you're crazy," or "That's not the way it is." Well, educate me, but at least give me the necessary information that I can draw my own conclusion, right? So I think that's what that's one thing. The other thing is risk. So I talk about that quite a bit in the book too. Is that you can't move forward without taking risk. If you really want what the American dream offers in the ultimate consequence, you have to get comfortable with taking risk. And risk means you'll fail. So you have to get used to that too.
You're guessing.
Yeah, you're guessing, right? I mean, it's but that's, that's exactly the difference between trying to take some scientific approach or just going out on a limb and say, I'm going to try this. And if nothing else, when I fall off, the limb, I'll find out I climbed too far up in the tree. Right. So, but you got to move forward. You got to keep learning and then, just have situational awareness about you. Don't get yourself into situations where you start believing in your own dreams, okay? Because invariably some of them are going to be broken. So it's a good idea to have an exit strategy or not go borrow a bunch of money from, your parents overseas, telling them that, oh, this is going to be, this is America. Just, give me $100,000 and you'll see what comes of it.
It is the land of opportunity, after all.
It is, but it isn't driven by money. It's driven by what you do with what you learn, and your willingness to invest yourself in it. I mean, that's what drives it. Money is fuel, but first thing you got to do is get the train on the rails, right? So,
well, and so many times, and I talk to people, especially people who are saying, I want to do a podcast, I want to do a blog, I want to start a company, I want to do whatever. And I say, well, and why haven't you?
Yeah.
It's not perfect yet.
No.
Have we ever seen perfect?
No, never. Perfect doesn't exist. You chase it. And we chase everything. We're a country chasing our dreams, aspiring to some noble principles. As Christians, we aspire to, a higher level and fall short on a regular basis. As business people, we do the same thing. In anything you do in life, you're going to fall short of perfection. But it's because it isn't about the destination. It's about the journey. It's all about the attempt of getting there. And I think that's where a lot of people sort of, get off on the wrong tangent. They think they're actually going to arrive somewhere. Right. You never arrive anywhere.
No, because that destination should keep moving.
It's perpetual motion. You're going to be in perpetual motion till the day you die. So are you going to be finished? Are you going to reach perfection? No. I think if you get a seat with the Lord, you probably reach perfection, but I think that's probably the closest you're going to get
Right.
to
When
that.
St. Peter says, mirror.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm,
Then you go,
mhm,
wow, that's
mhm,
perfection. I
mhm.
mean, I actually
Right.
did accomplish
Mhm,
that,
mhm, mhm,
but yeah, so taking risk as
mhm,
defining turning
mhm.
point, is uh, strive for it, understand it,
Right.
accept it,
Mhm,
okay? And then just learn twice as hard.
mhm,
And I know that may sound easy to people. They say, okay, well, I can't put food on the table, so that sounds like a noble aspiration.
mhm.
I think if you can't put food on the table, something in how you got to where you are that didn't come together quite right,
Mhm.
because you should
Right.
probably put that down first,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And then
Get your
then put your
basics. That's,
it's just basic.
Mhm,
I mean,
mhm,
it's kind of like
mhm,
the thing with the oxygen mask in the
mhm.
airplane, right? Where
Right.
they said put the
Take care of yourself
oxygen mask on the
first. Mhm, mhm,
first, right?
mhm,
Oh, you first, and then
mhm,
the kid
mhm.
afterwards. So,
Right.
yeah. And that leads into ownership and personal
Mhm,
responsibility.
mhm,
Another thing I favor is I don't think there's any greater freedom than being accountable,
mhm,
even if it's for other people's mistakes. What are you going to lose?
mhm,
I mean, you run a company,
mhm.
okay? And in my company, if you don't fail, you're not trying hard enough,
Right. I
okay?
tell people as long as somebody didn't die, I
Yeah,
mean,
then
everything
we
is
all learn
fixable.
something.
Mhm,
Yeah, exactly. So, just don't make the same mistake,
mhm,
over and over again.
mhm,
But being personally accountable uh, gives you the ability to do something about it.
mhm, mhm.
And
Right.
if you are accountable for the
Mhm,
people that work for you, they have a safe haven, and it's up to you to sort of set the
mhm,
the guide rails on, what that looks like,
mhm,
depending on the journey. But if you own it, you can
mhm,
fix it. If you don't own it, you
mhm,
can't fix it. I
mhm,
mean,
mhm,
pointing fingers at other people may give you a
mhm,
momentary
mhm,
sigh of relief,
mhm.
but it didn't fix the
Right.
situation. It made
Well,
it
and
somebody
it's
else's
it's
problem.
ego.
Yeah,
Many years ago, I worked for a company that designed computer software for the
yeah,
government.
uh-huh,
And everybody, they're really, really smart guys. They
yeah,
all had PhDs in statistics. I mean,
yeah,
these were really smart guys.
yeah,
And I ran the office, and the salesperson was another woman.
yeah.
And for whatever reason, she always felt threatened.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'd screw up. I mean,
yeah,
we all do, right? We've
yeah,
just been talking about that. And I'd fix it. But she took great delight in going to the boss and tattling on me.
yeah,
Like we were eight.
yeah,
And he would, and now he and I had a wonderful working relationship. And he would come to me and he'd say, "So,"
yeah, yeah,
and I'd say, "Oh yeah, I did that." And I said, "But here's what I did to fix it." I
yeah,
mean, and so all it did was make her look bad
yeah,
because
exactly.
and she never
Yeah,
understood that.
no, no,
And but yeah, I really did want to go to her and say, "We're not eight. And we're
yeah,
not competitors." I mean,
no,
that's the other thing is I think so many times people get caught up in me that they
yeah.
forget that it's we.
It is. Without the we, nothing happens.
Right.
Nothing success
Hmm.
because one person
Hmm.
can't do it.
Right.
So you're reliant on
Hmm.
everybody else.
Hmm.
And in a business, if you want to scale it, that's a whole
Hmm.
effort in of
Hmm.
itself is
Hmm.
to move that knowledge,
Right.
forward in the organization so
Hmm.
that everybody can move up and work at different levels and that you can meet the demand that you're out there creating.
Hmm.
That's something that's
Hmm.
frequently
Hmm.
disregarded or
Hmm.
or overlooked
Hmm.
by entrepreneurs is
Hmm.
the dynamics of building that
Hmm.
and the investment that they have to commit themselves to. It's not just enough to hire somebody, go out and hire somebody. Oh, well, he worked in a previous job. He did really well, and then come over here and expect that he's going to do the same thing here. No, there's no guarantee that's
Right.
going to
Hmm.
happen. If he feels that way, or everybody brings something and they bring
Right.
something different,
Hmm.
but then you've got to get it into,
Hmm.
into the mesh of things, right? It has
Hmm.
its place. It's going to influence the
Hmm.
organization. It's going to influence other,
Hmm.
employees. It's going to put them a different spin on it for your customers, maybe some of the, things that like that. But it is a part of a whole. It
Right.
is not a
Right.
single thing.
Right.
And so, I think if you teach that, you hire to that, you do all of that, you are also executing on a much better level
Right.
than you would otherwise.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, and we should hire to our deficits, right? To fill
Yeah.
those holes.
It's the
Just
whole
earlier
thing.
earlier
Hire
today,
people.
somebody was asking me about my producer on this
Yeah.
podcast, and they said she's the organized one, right?
Yeah.
And I said yes.
Yeah.
Obviously this is somebody who knew me, and he said, you are the person who's personable. You go, you
Yeah.
talk, you have fun. But
Yeah.
she's the one that keeps everybody to the schedule.
Absolutely.
And I said, yes, because
Yeah.
that's not me.
Yeah.
And so she and I make a very good team because
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
does do that.
Yeah.
And it works out perfect. If I hired somebody who was exactly like me, we'd still need somebody to keep us organized.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it. You hire people that are smarter than you.
Mm-hmm.
Hire people that are better at things. Like you said, know your own shortcomings. You can't be good at everything.
Right.
And I can tell you, you're not going to be happy trying to do everything if you do a poor job of it, because it's going to be pretty evident that you're doing a poor job of it. And now you're going to have to defend why you're making decisions in an area that's not really your area of competence. Why don't you give it to somebody who can own it and say, show me how you would do this? This is great, wonderful. Now you get a thinking organization and not something you have to go and babysit all the time,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
that's, and it, comes down to trusting people and surrounding yourself with the right folks, right? So,
Right. And
yeah.
it's scary. I am very type A, very, and so to let somebody else do it,
Yeah. Oh, it's scary. Oh,
and
it is.
well, and then when I finally came, now it took me many years
Yeah.
to come to the realization that not only can they do it, they can probably do it better.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean I was doing it wrong. It just,
No.
they have a different way to do it, and maybe that is better.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just astounds me. I'm like, cool. I never
Yeah.
thought to do it that way, but I
Exactly.
trusted them.
Yeah. You empower your people,
Mhm.
and by empowering them, you empower the company, right?
Right.
And things that are dynamic. I mean, things may be the right thing at some point in time in your journey, but not later on. Circumstances change, messages change, relativity changes, so all of those things need to be, you need to understand, you need to be in the moment. Now, what you're aggregating is experience, right? Which is, you were asking about why write a book. Well, I could put my experience in the book and not have to have a conversation about whether it was right or wrong. It is what it is. I mean, but using that as, turning around, say you need to do it this way. And I really tried hard not to write the book that way, so that it was like, here's my top 7 of how you become successful. Because I think they're different for different people, but I really tried to keep it, my own experiences as a backdrop to illustrate that I've actually done it. So, and this is what I've learned from it. And maybe that allows you to be a step further ahead than I was, because maybe you don't have to go learn this, because that was a painful lesson, right? So I mean, that's how we've dealt with a lot of the internal training here as well. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It perplexes me when I talk to people, and usually it's a small business owner and
Yeah.
many times a single entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And they think they have to do everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, part of it is a financial thing, right? Well, I can't go hire 20 other people, so I've
No.
got to do it. But they
Yeah.
also seem to think people will think down on them.
Yeah.
And usually I look at that person and I say, are you going to perform open heart surgery on yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, or even change your own oil, right? That's
Yeah.
might even be more complicated now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But no, we have the experts because they are experts. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean we're stupid. It doesn't mean we don't know what we're doing. It just means they're better at it.
Yeah. 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 I heard something. It might have been one of the people you interviewed on your show that talked about that. It was a turnaround specialist anyway. He talked about how owners confuse the company with their own identity, right?
Yes.
So you get it's my company. No, it isn't your company.
Right.
It's
Right.
our company. it is an organism of its own, both in terms of how it's handled legally, but also how you need to put it in proper perspective, because it is a shared asset. And everybody who's in it are part of making it grow and be a future. That's also why you need to find the humility to step out of it and try to direct it like it's yours. And especially in this day and age, that whole management method just doesn't work anymore. So, but sincerely look at it as a separate entity, and don't look in the short term, but look long term. It's only going to evolve if you keep growing it. And how you grow it is with bringing more people, more ideas, more stuff in.
Because you
more,
are limited.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I mean, eventually the clock runs out, and if you don't want to find yourself a frustrated owner who's sitting in the latter part, and I've seen that so many times. I'm sure you've talked to a bunch of people in that situation. They don't have a plan, so then it's all one big accident. And then they can't find relevance in their lives. I mean, it's like, that was another thing that was really cathartic for me in writing the book was I said, okay, I got 2 new associate partners. They need to run it. I'll come in and I'll be here for backdrop. But I'm going to focus on writing this and have that be sort of my center focus. So, there's something here to go by. Maybe that's useful for this generation, the next, who knows? But at least I had the benefit of sitting down, and I could sit down and write it down on paper and say, here it is,
Right.
But as from my point of view, not as a directive to somebody or, saying this is the law. If you do this way, this is the outcome, because there's no guaranteed outcome in anything.
Right. And it's so important to empower those employees.
Yeah.
One of the big companies based here in Atlanta is Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And, and they're very much into empowering their employees.
Yeah.
And so I tested it one time because I had somebody tell me that this is the way it was. So I went in and I asked for 1 chicken nugget.
Yeah. All right.
Now, if you went to any other place that sold chicken nuggets, you would be told, we're sorry, we only sell 6, 8, and 10, or whatever it is.
Right.
And I didn't get, I have to ask. I didn't get any of that. I got, yes, ma'am. And they charged me like 25 cents or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are told, not taught, they're told, you have that power. Yeah. Now, obviously it's like the sayings, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yep.
But, so they're not just giving the chicken nuggets away.
No.
But yeah, they don't have to go to their boss. And that's one of the things that drives me nuts is if I'm talking to somebody and I'm sorry, I have to ask my boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and now sometimes it works out good. And other times, I always buying a car, right? It's been a long time since I bought a car. But that always would drive me nuts. I'm sorry, I must go check with my manager.
Oh, yeah.
And away they go. And all they're doing is just shooting the breeze, right?
It's the shell game, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, you were empowered to tell me yes or no.
Yeah.
Now, no is okay. I'm fine with no. But don't do the, I'm sorry, I have to check with my manager.
Yeah.
No,
it's the car sales is good. I happen to love car sales because I love to mess up the whole game. So when they started handing out for the manager, I said, something, I don't know I don't know that I have that kind of time. I may actually have to leave, and or it comes to you sit down with a finance guy and all of a sudden what you didn't pay in cash, you're paying over the rest of your lifetime.
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So, oh yes, sir. I got your credit rating here, and this is the best we can do. I said, well, you obviously might sell me a car, but you're not going to finance it for me.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, the last one we bought was a pickup. I'm a Colorado girl, so I wanted a pickup, and we were walking in with a check.
Yeah.
Nothing was getting financed.
Yeah.
And and that just totally perplexed them. I mean, and I said, so you're not even going to run it. You are not running our credit. I'm not giving you that information. You either take this check, which is it's a good amount. We weren't trying to rip them off or anything. And I said, or we walk out of here. Yeah. And I said, and if you come back with a piece of paper with a happy face drawn on it, because they all do that, right? I said, we really are walking out. And then they made the cardinal mistake. Now, I did end up buying my pickup from them, but they addressed their questions only to my husband.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's really,
Yes.
yeah, I know.
And it's like it's my pickup.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and they would look because they're like, but you're a girl. I'm like,
Yeah.
but I want my pickup.
Yeah. It's my
But
pickup. Yeah.
but the sales guy caught on. Smart
Yes.
person figured
Yeah.
it out really fast,
You
and,
gotta
and so they
figure
were
it out. Yeah.
okay. But yeah, I mean, but it's that way with anything. If you talk down to your clients,
Uh-huh.
you're going to lose them. You might make
Absolutely.
that deal, but you're not going to make future deals. And they're going to, they're going to tell their friends, don't ever go there.
Yeah. You have to have empathy. I
Mhm.
mean, you have to listen, understand, take a genuine interest in people. All right. I mean, that's what I love about business is that you get a chance to work with people on trying to find something that's good for all parties involved, right? And sometimes, a lot of times, it's not readily evident to everybody why that might be or might not be. So, well, then you need to understand that what's the
To
need?
me.
How can I help fill that need? Is there anything I have that can help fill it? Do you have a need that you haven't realized? Maybe that could be an improvement, right? So, I can talk to you about that. But if you don't have empathy and you don't listen and you don't respond, you're just a talking head. And, I mean, then it's easier to go to the internet and buy it than it is to
Right.
sit there and be engaged.
I mean, there is absolutely nothing that is 100% unique.
No.
There are things that are, they're special, and and in my one of my business mastermind groups that I'm in, we're working on creating us as the category of one.
Yeah.
But there are still other people who do what we
Absolutely.
do. And yeah, when it is so easy to look at that. Let's go back to the car, that they, and I just, you turn around, you pick up your phone, you buy your car, and you look at the guy and you go, and you walk out. Right.
Yeah.
And it was simply because they just mishandled it, whether it was that they weren't empowered to make that deal or whatever it is, and we're sitting here with a computer in our hand. I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I just go to your competition right now, see what they got it for. I'm sure I can find one. I could have actually done that before I came here. And maybe you did. Maybe you said, oh, you got this, lot number such and such. I want that, and this is where I'm willing to pay for it,
Right.
That would make it easy.
But that
it's a
one's 10
commodity.
miles further away. So what?
Exactly.
And in Atlanta, that's a big deal.
Yes. Next stop. Thank you. I'm out of here. Yeah. Now, I think that in modern business cycles, it's becoming increasingly important to understand relevance.
Mhm.
Okay. And you see a lot of tech companies, for instance, it always starts with, are we not smart? We came up with this thing. And then you get 10,000 acronyms rattled off, and you go, so now I'm going to be impressed because you know a bunch of acronyms that maybe I don't know. Maybe you invented some of them.
Baffling me with BS is not a way to go either.
No. So, but you say, how is it relevant? Well, before you tell me how it's relevant, why don't you understand what relevance means to me? I mean, if you know enough about your product, you must know what it solves for. So isn't it your job to understand if your counterpart has a relevant need? And if not, then don't waste their time. Move on. There's so much stuff going on in the airwaves these days that it tends to get lost. Also because of the one-way communication society, right? Because we're blasted with things all the time. It's like, I don't care if it's the internet or if it's TV or whatever, any means of reaching or putting things out there. If we can automate and make it one way and to say often enough and long enough, then they must be buying, right? I mean, no, that's not salesmanship. Salesmanship is engaging, and it's becoming a lost art. I mean, it's because a lot of people mishandle it and they think they just need to propagate whatever the billboard message is, and then that's good enough for government work, right? So anyway, yeah.
Well, but what you're talking about is what you talk about in your book, and that's short-term thinking, where it's just, we're going to solve this right now, as opposed to what a long-term vision is. So
That's
tell
right.
us the difference between those two.
Well, I mean, if you're just into short-term, you're just very transactional. I'm not very engaged in any, I'm just, okay, once you give me your money, this relationship is over and done with. I mean, that's very hard to build value that way. I can tell you in our business, we're very, very narrow product line. We started out with one reader and 5 tags. Okay. you wouldn't think that you could make a business out that covers all of the Americas on such a narrow product line. We've done it for 25 years. We've
Wow.
been very successful because, we found out we're an enabler. Our product enables other products to be sold to be part of a common solution. And to our dealer network, that means we are the catalyst for opening that discussion about that particular application. And we can keep doing that over and over and over again, because without our component, the rest doesn't exist. So understanding that, connectivity between things is understanding the entire operational need of your customer. And now you become a business partner for life because you created value that far exceeds what you had to offer, yourself. But again, you pay it forward, you put yourself out there, and you strive to, shoot over the target. And yeah, then you get a business relationship that will live a lifetime,
Right. Right. Yeah. I think people totally underestimate loyalty.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, as you were talking, I was thinking about Walmart. Walmart seems like, quick transaction type of
Yeah.
thing, but it's
Yeah.
really not,
Yeah.
because I go to Walmart every Sunday morning. I go to the same Walmart every Sunday
Yeah.
morning. I
Yeah.
buy the same products at
Yeah.
that Walmart every
Yeah.
Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And so it's a long-term thing.
Yeah.
And are there things that I get once? Sure, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's building that. And as you were talking about customer service, I had a great example with the post office yesterday, of
Yeah.
all places.
Of all
Um,
places, yeah.
And so I was sending gift cards.
Yeah.
Now, the Atlanta postal system has been under fire. They've
Yeah.
been horrible and awful for, several years. It's actually congressional action has been taken. I mean, this is bad. And so I was sending 4 gift cards, 3
Yeah.
for graduation, 1 for a new baby. And I put my little stamps on them and I put them out in the mailbox. And here's the letter carrier.
Yeah.
And she's got my 4 things. And she said, "These don't have enough postage."
Yeah.
And she's, yeah, and I mean, how many? Now she had to get out of her truck. She had to park. She had to get out of her truck. She had to come in, and then she waited while I ran around and found more stamps.
Yeah.
I mean, she could have completely ignored that, and those cards could have gone off into Never Never Land.
Exactly. It's not my problem.
It took her probably 5-10 minutes to
Yeah.
do this,
Yeah.
but it was like, this is good. This
Yeah.
is really good. And and I think that's the long-term vision.
Uh-huh.
Short-term thinking is, I solved this thing now.
Yeah.
I picked up the mail, I left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Long-term vision is, we've been getting a bad rap, so how can I fix this?
Yeah, exactly. The best place to sell
Mm-hmm.
is when something is broken.
Yes. Yes.
Okay?
Fix it.
That's when you build a relationship. When they call you up and say, "What you sold me, I can't figure out how to install it, or it doesn't work as advertised," and everybody is all up in the air.
Mhm.
When you calmly bring them down and you take care of the problem, and you're there on call. All right. So
Yep.
in our company, we like to be a little retro. So if the phone rings, somebody picks it up. It doesn't
Oh my
just sit
gosh.
there
It's
and ring.
It's not a chat bot that answers.
No, it's not a chatbot. No, because we're a niche product, and we carry, and our responsibility, our customers, like I said, has become above and beyond what we're actually selling. So we're subject matter experts. So when they call us, we can put it in context with the other things, and the other things can only talk about them being a component. So that's how customers love to engage with us and come back. And then, I mean, that is the best possible way to retain a long-term customer, is fix a problem for them. And we've lost sight of that more and more. I mean, for a while there, we were getting pretty good. And then COVID hit, and now a bot is good enough, right? I mean, it's like, but it just isn't, because you don't create that human bond, and you didn't fix a problem right away. And you get really frustrated when you type in you talk to some bot on the internet, and it doesn't understand your questions, and yeah, forget that.
There's a commercial running here for something, and the part of the commercial is, "I don't speak bot." And and that's so true.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's, have a person or have your system better trained. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing
Yeah.
too.
So, I mean, if you are dedicated to the long term, right, then customer retention is huge. Why would you want to have to build new customers all the time?
Yeah.
I mean, it's expensive. You're not building anything on top of something. You're just repeating the same exercise over and over again. And I think that's where the mechanized part of it becomes, it gets in its own way, and it creates an opportunity for being a little retro and saying, no, we actually have a person here in the United States answering the call. I mean, they're Dutch products, but you can call here and we all speak American and we can take care of it and it's not a problem. And if you call us in Latin America, we speak Spanish and we do things in Spanish and we have manuals in Spanish and so forth and so on, right? It's not like, here are your pinouts, go figure it out,
Right.
I mean, so,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Did you try to figure it out yourself? I had somebody tell me that one time. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
So, well,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, Gorm, this has been so much fun. I've been having such a great discussion with you, but it's been an hour. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
And so we will have a link to your website. Although it's a pretty, like you said, pretty specified, pretty specific type of product, but it's very interesting.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we will have a link to the book. But if somebody says, we got to talk to you, how do they find you?
Well, the best thing is to get me on my LinkedIn page, probably reach out to me. I've built a sort of a sequence. If you go to tuxengroup.com, you'll get a page with a book on it, and it'll take you to Amazon's website. You can get the book anywhere, but, it's easy to get on Amazon. And it also takes you to a LinkedIn page set up for a discussion group. So what I'm trying to do is sort of, give people an opportunity to get to the discussion group. And if you want to learn more, it's a work in progress. So bear with me. It all takes effort, but I'd love to have input from people there. We do business consulting and we add other companies, but we're definitely not the time and hour kind of a thing. We're long-term engagement, right? I mean, like our biggest client we've been with for 25 years. Those are the kinds of relationships that we like to build, long and deep and meaningful. And but hey, if there's somebody out there who thinks that might be something for them, by all means, reach out.
Cool.
Go to Gorm Tuxen on LinkedIn and or go to tuxengroup.com.
Perfect. I love it. Well, this really has been so much fun, and would love to chat with you again. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Yeah, in the book, I sort of ended off because I think perspective is 9/10 of the equation, right? I write the kind of the closing sentence in the book is, remember, perspective depends on your vantage point. So do not dwell on failure. It takes care of itself. Instead, find the vantage point from which you can see success.
I love that. Such wise words. I can see why you end the book with that. We will end our show with that. I'm Deb Creer. I've been having a delightful discussion with Gorm Tuxen, the founder and CEO of Tuxen Group, LLC. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.